Hi, everyone. It is Beth Z, your nerdy best friend. One of the things that struck me is that people kept coming up to me and saying, "Oh my gosh, here is how I've used ChatGPT. Here is how I've used these tools." And I realized that I hadn't been sharing them and I was just hearing them myself. So I've started recording when people come up to me and I'm like, "Do you mind if I get that on recording?" So I've started recording the videos and asking them, "Hey, can I just record this and put it down?" One place that I know that ChatGPT has helped people is when they're dealing with employees. Two case studies were very related. So one person had two employees who were not getting along. And what she did was took the correspondence that was going in between these two people and she ran it through ChatGPT and she said, "Can you tell me what dynamics you see that may be causing these people to have conflicts, that may be causing these people to misunderstand each other?" And it gave some insights into what their challenges were. And then she helped those people realize some of the subconscious things they were doing and kind of cleared up the air. She said that incident helped the relationship between those people so much. Another story in the same category, very similar, two employees who weren't getting along. And every time one wrote to one, they would get mad, and the other one would write to the other one, and they would get mad. And she said, "We can fix this." So she has required those folks to put their information into ChatGPT so that it comes up with neutral language, with non loaded language, things they didn't even know they were saying and that people could interpret wrong. And it changed the dynamic. Another customer service story is that somebody told me they had an employee who had been there. It was a construction company, it was a concrete company. And they said they had, they said they had an employee who was there for like, I don't know, 35 years. And she was a linchpin. She was a big part of the whole organization. However, she had gotten a little crusty in her old age. And so she, like somebody would write a little frosty. She would get an email from a customer and she'd write back, they say, "How do you do this?" Or "I'm having trouble with this." And she'd write back, "This," and something very blunt, very quick, not very polished. And the customers were like, "Hmm, what is going on? That's not very customer centric. That's not very friendly." And it was causing a little challenge. So this company gave the employee ChatGPT and asked her to refine the messages that she was sending out. Several people have told me about how they're using ChatGPT with policies and procedures and manuals. In addition to all the other things a manager has to do, daily work and things like that, a lot of times there are these big overarching projects that kind of just sit there and just stare you in the face and look at you from the to do list saying, "Oh my gosh, I need a block of time to do that." One of them is like writing up a policy, like DEI policies or policies for time off or things like that. So, several people told me they are putting the basic information or maybe their old policies into ChatGPT, asking it to rewrite with the new policies, updated things with updated language, all kinds of different ways that they can finesse those conversations so that they're a little bit different. I want to tell you the story about what happened one night in an airport. So it was late, last flight in, and I was wandering. I was coming home through Nashville to Nashville, and I knew my husband was waiting to go pick me up, and I was very excited to go home. And the airport was almost empty, and I heard someone go, "Hey, nerdy girl! Hey, nerdy girl!" And I was like, "What is going on?" So I turn around, and there's this woman. She's beckoning to me from a gate. The flight had been delayed, there were big signs up there, and she's sitting there, no makeup on, just very casual clothes, and she was a professional I knew, and she was just sitting there writing something on her computer. And she said, "Oh, I love the presentation," little flattery there. And she said, "Right now, my flight's delayed, but my grandmother just died, and I am headed home. And, this was all sudden, and I'm supposed to give the eulogy." And she said, "I just have to tell you, you told me about ChatGPT just in time because I had no idea where to start. I had no idea what words she was totally devastated. It was really hard for her to be connecting with anybody at that point. And she said, I don't have a good idea of what to say. So what she did was she went to ChatGPT, put in some things she loved about her grandmother and some beginnings, and had it write the first draft. Now, was it what she presented? Absolutely not. She totally personalized it. But in that situation, she was so tired and upset, and the flight was delayed, and she was ragged out, and she had been living her life, and then she had to jump on this and go to all the family and have this big responsibility. And instead of just being lost and having to write it from scratch on the back of a napkin on an airplane in the middle of the night, she was able to get a rough draft that she could personalize. Several times I end up with people who have use it for personal reasons. Like one woman had lost a lot of weight and she was using ChatGPT to help her set up workout plans, to help her keep on track, to help her do meal planning. And she had used it throughout the process. And instead of having to hire somebody, or sometimes we know what to do to lose weight or get healthy or whatever habit we want, we know what to do. But having somebody else tell us or having an outside source to get ideas, really helpful for a lot of people. Another use case that I have seen for ChatGPT and for its cousins is really special. So, several people have talked to me about how they're road warriors, they're always on the go, they don't get to spend time with their family. And sometimes they send home some notes about how much they really care about the family and the wife and the kids and the husband and their partners and the dog. And they want to thank them, but they don't take the time or they don't have the time to kind of sit through that. So several people have said that they put in some basic facts and got some messaging that they could share. And I love that. I love that piece for helping people out. Here's a fun story about someone using ChatGPT. And this goes along with one of the challenges I've seen with ChatGPT in where we are now. I mean, it's been out for a little while and a lot of people are using it, but not a lot of companies have come up with guidelines and procedures and processes and rules. So this one person came up to me and he said they forbid us from using ChatGPT at work. And he was a writer and he wrote press releases and things like that. And he wrote them. He worked in an area. It was an electric co-op, and they had to, like, if the tornado happened and there were power outages, they would put out a press release about the power outage and things like that on the fly, very quickly, that kind of thing. And the boss said, "You know what?" She told the writer he asked to use ChatGPT, and she said, "You know what? I don't yeah, it's not gonna work as well. You write so much better than that. It's not gonna work as well." And he said, "Okay." And there was a tornado, and he used ChatGPT to put in some basic facts about the tornado and said, write a press release about this tornado and then put in there tips for what you can do if your power goes out, right? So it wrote a press release, basic press release, and the guy took it and personalized it. Instead of taking, an hour and a half for the whole thing, probably took him 30 minutes. He shaved off an hour. And then he took it to the boss and he said, here's the press release. And she said, you see, this is what I'm talking about. You can write so much better than ChatGPT. It couldn't do that. And he was like, hmm, I wonder if I should tell her. He did tell her. And they started using it. But those are the kind of stories that really help those conversations and getting people to really understand it. Here's a funny story about how someone used ChatGPT as kind of a trick on me. So, I helped people write books in a weekend. I am a member of the National Speakers Association, and this isn't a session I've done for a lot of people, but I taught them how to take what they talk about and their best ideas and use mail merge, y'all. I love mail merge, and some other capabilities in Canva and ChatGPT to create a mail merged little book. I called it a mini book, and it's just little ideas in a row, like the top 25 tips for keeping your stress down. And it's the speaker's proprietary information, right? So you're going to get their expertise in little tidbits that they can quickly put into book format. I say, how to write a book in a weekend, a mini book in a weekend. So I could do it in a weekend, but I didn't know if other people, because sometimes, people are like, yeah, I tried it and it took me way longer. So I was like, okay, I'm going to train people as a beta test before I do this session on how to do it. And one of my beta testers was a friend named Mimi Brown. And she wrote a book. It took her about 24 hours total. I had them track it. And that's why I refined the process of how to tell people. And so, they helped me understand how to teach it better so that other people can understand it. So it took her about 24 total hours to do it. And then she created the last one. And so she was holding on to it for a long time because what took her so long was not the words, it was the graphics. She was playing around with it. So it took her a long time to send it to me. And she finally sent it to me. And when she did, she wrote me an email. And I read the email and was like, "Oh, Beth, this was quite a journey. I had I went through the obstacles. I climbed mountains. I rode down ski hills, all to make this work. It wasn't the easiest task. It was harder than herding elephants in a Walmart, but I finally got it done." And I was like, hmm. That sounds really funny. So I, being a nerd, because I didn't want to say, hey, I think you use ChatGPT to do this and call her out because maybe that's what, she was trying to do. So I went and I put it into a checker to see if I could identify it. And it said, oh, yeah, this is 100% AI written. So I wrote her back and I sent her that little score and I said, "Did you do that?" And she cracked up laughing because she had done it on purpose, wondering if I could tell. So, yes, she went ahead and did it, but she did it kind of as a humorous thing. Now, what she could have done was use it for a first draft and then modify it because sometimes, like, you got to put a little extra note in it or do some explanation, and you're just like, it's taking me forever. And then you put off that task. But because she used ChatGPT, it made it very quick, and she just copied and pasted it, knowing that it would crack me up. And it did. So, those are just a few of the things that I've heard that other people have used these tools for. And like I said, I'm going to start a little series where whenever somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, Beth, here's what I did. It was a huge hit or it was a huge disaster or whatever," I am going to stop and try to get them on video and I'm going to try to share them with you. Thanks so much for listening. This is Beth Z, your nerdy best friend, and I hope to see you soon. Until then, nerd on.